Good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice.
And I am Alfred. Ocansey.
The news is also live on Kesmi 107.1 FM and across the world at 3news.com. On Facebook, we're streaming live on 3FM 92.7. Coming up in the next 1.5 hours, renovation of Parliament to cost the taxpayer some €2 million as Speaker inspects ongoing works ahead of September 3 recall.
52-year-old Samuel Yao granting in the grips of the Ghana Police Service for allegedly possessing Electoral Commission's biometric verification device, BVD. We have updates on this shortly.
Much later on the program, NDC rank and file descend on Winneba in Central Region this weekend for the 2024 manifesto launch.
And this is your Election Command Center. We're there to build up ahead of tomorrow's NDC manifesto launch. Give you an update on what's happening at the venue here on your Election Command Center, also live on W93.5 in WA and beyond.
All of these plus business and sports coming up in the next 1 hour 30 minutes. But for now though, Grace Hamwajaman is here with the latest in summaries.
Let's get into the summaries now. The Kolebu Teaching Hospital is stepping up efforts to introduce innovative treatment for kidney patients, aiming to provide more accessible and efficient care. Among the top priorities is the introduction of peritoneal dialysis, a treatment method widely used in the United States and other advanced countries. This approach offers patients the convenience of managing their condition from home, significantly enhancing their quality of life. The move to adopt peritoneal dialysis comes in the wake of the recent temporary shutdown of Kolebu's dialysis units due to a shortage of essential consumables. Away from that, a 52-year-old man, Samuel Yao, is in the custody of the Nsawam police for allegedly possessing a biometric verification device suspected to be one of the missing gadgets of the Electoral Commission. The suspect, said to be a resident of Tudu in Accra, was apprehended earlier today by local residents. The incident has reignited concerns surrounding the security of the EC's biometric system. To other stories, dry spells in 8 out of Ghana's 16 regions has led to the destruction of several farms. The regions impacted by the dry spell are Oti, Bono East, Northeast, Savannah, Upper East and Upper West regions. The situation has put the investment of farmers at risk. This has also threatened the country's food security. And before we go, data from the National Road Safety Authority have shown that Ghana records higher number of deaths through accidents each election year. This has been blamed on the disregard of traffic rules by parties and their supporters during campaign sessions. The Road Safety Authority has launched a code of practice for political parties to reduce crashes this year. That's it for the summaries.
Thank you very much, Grace Hamwajaman. Let's bring you the details of our stories now. And renovation works in the Chamber of Parliament will cost €2.6 million. That's the cost, according to the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin, and this will be borne by the government of Ghana. Only damaged decks or the work tables would be replaced, but new chairs would be procured here in Ghana. The old furniture, the Speaker said, would be auctioned. Meanwhile, Parliament is yet to decide on a venue for the recall on September 3 as ongoing renovation is progressing steadily. The contractor, Africa Bag, is expected to complete works by end of October, making it impossible for the House to reconvene on September 3. And we have in the studio with us our parliamentary correspondent, Evelyn Tingma. Evelyn, I know you've been there. Just first of all, tell us more about this renovation works going on.
Right, so Beatrice, I know you've been to Parliament several times and you know how the chamber looks like. And today, if you go to the chamber now, you see that there's a whole lot of changes there. So we are talking about the desks, the chairs, and the screens. Everything have been removed from the chamber. And so now what is being done there is the rewiring, because we are told that the system that it had, they had to remove all the decks and rewire everything, because they are bringing in a new system altogether, and that system will enable MPs to do e-voting and other stuff. So basically, everything in the chamber has been removed.
Beyond what you know right now, in the afternoon, you were telling us earlier about why the leadership of Parliament felt that it was necessary to change what we have in the House now.
Yeah, so today when the Speaker inspected the progress of work in the chamber, he reiterated that because in the past, or before Parliament went on recess, they had issues with the audio-visual system, and especially when the audio, the speakers that the MPs use. So sometimes when they have to speak on the floor, there are issues, and so Parliament is often forced to suspend sitting here and there, and so they needed to change those audio equipment as well as the video equipment. So if you know Parliament very well, they have the screens on the walls, and those screens too, they have developed some cracks according to the Speaker, and so most people are not able to see what exactly is happening. So they needed to change all those things. And he mentioned that 2014, you remember that we had the Parliament was renovated somewhere 2014, and the system that was put in place, it was to ensure that MPs will have a paperless system, sort of. But that system didn't work, according to the Speaker, because they were supposed to upgrade that system. But over time, they have not been able to do it. And so now the system has that a failure. And of course, what he said, the first system was to last for 10 to 15 years. And now we've done 10 years. And so that is the reason why most of the problems are popping up, and they need to do the changes.
I just want you to hold on. Let's listen to the Speaker, exactly what he said, and we'll wrap up our conversation.
I recall there were challenges in 2014. The necessary resources did not even come up for the implementation of the project. The period between 2014 and the period of implementation now, there were new systems that were developed, and you couldn't go to take that old one, because if you use that, you have difficulty in getting spare parts to maintain it. What has happened is that a technical team is in place. The technical team had gone all over the place where the equipment are imported from to cross-check to make sure that they are fit for purpose. It's when they install them, when we test them, we test run them, and that's why we are insisting that it should be done now for the next Parliament to use, so that they will not meet the challenges that this system, this unique Parliament has unearthed. The work table, that's how I refer to them, the work table. It's been done, as you know, African Bag is a local company. It's a Ghanaian company, and that is the main contractor. So all what we're talking about is being done locally by the company we call FENAT. The old ones will definitely, as you know, go through the public system of disposal of government property. That is not under my control. They will take them to what you refer to as the prestige department, and they will put them usually on auction. This is the phase we are implementing, and the cost of this phase is 2.26 million euro for these things I've just mentioned.
You heard that the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Bagbin. Evelyn Tingma is still in the studio with us. Evelyn, we just heard the Speaker there mention 2.26 million euros for this renovation that we're talking about. Do we know how much goes into what exactly?
Yeah, so we are talking about the procurement of the desks or the work tables that he mentioned. We are talking about the chairs that will be procured. we're talking about replacing the audio system as well as the video equipment and the rewiring of the whole the chamber. And so these are some of the
items you talked about.
Yes, the items that is involving the 2.2 million euros.
Thank you very much, Evelyn Tingma. She is our parliamentary correspondent. We're joined now by Dr. Rashid Rahman. He's the Executive Director, Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs. Good evening to you, Doc. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Doc.
Yes, good evening.
Excellent. Doc is actually joining us via video call. Thank you very much for joining us. If you can hear me, first of all, in 2014, you might have heard reporters say there was a major renovation. Now another renovation is going to cost us 2.26 million euros. A section of the Ghanaian public already raising questions. What are your views from where you sit?
Well, I think I remember the 2014. That was during the 6th Parliament, I believe, when this was done. There were a lot of questions about the cost to the Ghanaian taxpayer. I mean, that's relevant questions that citizens have to ask. And there were also questions about, value for money in terms of how long this investment was going to take. At the time, I didn't know that this was going to be a 10-year kind of period. I mean, I just heard the Right Honourable Speaker talk about the fact that what they had installed then was going to last between 10 to 15 years. And now we are, I think, on the 10-year mark. So for me, from where I sit, I mean, the question I ask myself is, I hope this current investment is one that is going to last maybe for a much longer period. Otherwise, if every 10 years we have to spend this amount of money to retool our parliament, in terms of priorities, in terms of the challenges that our country faces, I would not think that maybe that would be the way resources should be spent. So I hope that these current renovations that are taking place, will be renovations that would last us for a very long time as a country.
And indeed, that's where I was going to the matter of priority. Spending 2.2 million euros in the kind of economic state you're in, and it's not like Parliament was going to collapse on the MPs. That's not to underestimate whatever challenges they may have with what they have now. But really, in terms of priority, should it have been now? Why should it be now?
Well, I think in terms of priority, that's a question I hope maybe your correspondent can ask the authorities in Parliament, particularly the clerk to Parliament, who is the spending and procurement officer. But, the part that I like about what is currently going on is retooling the Parliament for the next Parliament. So I believe the current crop of MPs and the leadership is not doing that, to satisfy their own interest. And then the second, I think, is the fact that they are using a local company, because that's what I heard the Right Honourable Speaker say. In the last renovation, I think there were a lot of issues about, the things were coming from China and it's a foreign company, and people had issues about that. If we have to look at it from a point of view of, how much we need to spend in order to make our democracy work, and the important role that Parliament should be playing, then I would say it's resources well spent. But, the big question is, are our parliamentarians doing what they have to do? So that if we are spending this amount of money in terms of seeing the development of our democracy as a priority, then we have to make sure that our parliamentarians do the work that they have to do. If you spend this amount of money to redesign the chamber, and then the chamber is mostly half empty because they don't show up for work, then I think some people will be questioning.
What do you make of the fact that this renovation, as it were, has been ongoing? If you've seen videos of what's going on in the chamber, there's not a single chair in the chamber as we speak because the work has progressed. And it is now that we're hearing how much is involved and even which company is undertaking this project.
Well, that's a job that I would have hoped that, you journalists, because we had this several weeks ago during the challenges about the recall of Parliament. I think Parliament issued a statement and said that some renovations were going to happen, and because of that, the chamber was not available, and that's why the Right Honourable Speaker could not honor, the conditions of the recall and so on. I would have thought that, you people would have taken your microphones in there in Parliament and tried to get some answers in terms of, how was the procurement done, who competed for the procurement, how was it done, and so on. I think it's only today that, I have heard, just like what you were playing out in terms of the voice of the speaker saying it's a Ghanaian company that won the bid and so on. But that's a job for you guys to try and find answers for us.
Well, I think it is as when the information is available, and we are just hearing it for the first time. Indeed, the speaker telling us that this is how much is involved. We didn't seem to have had.
Did you ask? Did you?
Yes,
did
we
you
had
ask,
tried. We had tried to get. Yes, we had tried to get, not necessarily from the speaker, but we had tried to get officials who ideally should have given us information on that, and that information was not readily available for us until we are hearing it now. But I just wanted to find out from you, though, we didn't seem to have received any detailed breakdown of how much this money or where this money is going into. Should that be a cause of concern for us?
Well, I think you have seen pictures. So for me, we've heard what the project is all about. So if details are needed, that is where I believe you guys must have to push, because Parliament is a custodian of our laws. They passed the Freedom of Information law, and they said to Ghanaians that if you need any information based on the law that we passed, no government officials should, refuse providing the information. Parliament should set a very good example. So I'm really surprised that your colleagues have tried to get information and Parliament was not providing the information. That is not setting a good example at all.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, Dr. Rashid Rahman. He's the Executive Director, Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs.
Well, it's live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Some news that we've been following quite closely and developing swiftly. A 52-year-old man named Samuel Yao Kranting is in the custody of the Nsawam police for allegedly possessing a biometric verification device. A BVD suspected to be one of the missing gadgets of the Electoral Commission. Now, the suspect, said to be a resident of Tudu here in Accra, was apprehended earlier today by local residents. Some members of the opposition National Democratic Congress, NDC, upon hearing of the arrest, rushed to the scene to capture videos and pictures of the suspect and the device before handing him over to the Ghana Police Service in the Ashanti region. First, that's in the Eastern region, specifically in Nsawam. Let's hear from the suspect who actually spoke when these persons apprehended him with the said BVD.
The mamino, the offer the mamino, on the Farouk Mamano. Wow, Mimi, the women say we are.
The police for not track our Naya Farouk Mamano.
Why watch the boy? Boy, my master, Mimi, no problem. Because me, I me won't joke. Because maybe because I won't do no. We mean that out because we machine will be
for better. About you to me higher. Sir,
really now.
to the younger side, you want to know this very someone. You know, it's a good transfer of someone, you're not saying, you can't be back always. What are your man far from Ocansey school, sir?
But
Who do you love with that?
but your uncle may bring one papa car, baby.
Who do you love with that?
Secondary school.
Well, so that's the suspect. Dr. Jonathan Asanchochu is going to be joining us in a bit for a quick conversation on this matter. This incident has reignited concerns surrounding the security of the Electoral Commission's biometric systems. In April this year, the NDC Minority Caucus in Parliament alleged some 7 BVDs were missing from the Electoral Commission stores, a claim that the Electoral Commission strongly denied at the time, saying 5 of its laptops, not the biometric verification devices, rather had been stolen. Now, the commission also said it had disposed of some old BVDs which found their way to a recycling plant somewhere in Accra. But then again, it raises fundamental questions about this particular one as well, because this, if you go on our Facebook page right now, we're going to post some pictures of this man who was apprehended, this 52-year-old man, Samuel Yao-Granting, who was apprehended and is in the custody of Nsawam police right now with this biometric verification device, a functioning one for that matter, and was not, from the preliminary information that we're picking right now, part of the BVDs that the Electoral Commission disposed of that were found at this recycling plant. So there are fundamental questions being raised here right now. And Yvonne Nico is our Eastern Region correspondent who has also been following this quite closely. She joins on the telephone. Yvonne, what more do we know about this incident?
Well, Alfred, the details are very sketchy as we follow through with the story. Well, we do know that the gentleman has been arrested with a CBD machine, which is yet to be checked very well to know if indeed as part of the EC's DVD machines, and then exactly what data could be on that DVD machine, and exactly why he's having it with him.
See, but then he is in the custody of the Nsawam police as we speak?
We know that it's in the custody of the Nsawam police station, where investigations have begun for exactly the gentleman who has been arrested.
See, and what's been the conversation, especially amongst the persons who thronged this particular area where this gentleman, this 52-year-old man, Samuel Yao-Granting, was apprehended?
Well, it's been a worrying development for people in that particular constituency. We all do know that as we gradually get to the date of the elections, there's been a bit of tension here and there, beginning from the registration exercise now to the exhibition, and the issue that keeps coming in pockets of areas. We're hoping that between the EC, the police, and the parties within the situation will be resolved quickly. We do know that before this issue, there's already an issue about missing laptops, and we're having these things on our hands. How it is going to be dealt with is critical, because if these issues are not dealt with, then we're going to have problems on our hands.
Yvonne, appreciate you for this, and thank you for the updates. And Yvonne Nico is our Eastern Regional correspondent, and news just coming through, and we've been following quite closely, developing over the last 1 hour. A 52-year-old man, Samuel Yao-Granting, is in the police, the custody of the Nsawam police for allegedly possessing a biometric verification device. BVD suspected to be one of the missing gadgets that the NDC minority did indicate sometime in April that had been missing from the Electoral Commission stores. If you recall, the EC had denied this vehemently, but the opposition NDC did insist that BVDs had been missing. In the Electoral Commission then indicated that it is the laptops, 5 laptops, that had gone missing or had been stolen, for that matter. This development, we understand the suspect is said to be a resident of Tudu here in Accra. He was apprehended earlier today in Nsawam, in the Eastern Region. Now, that's the development right now. This biometric verification device has been retrieved and it's with the Nsawam police as we speak. If you go on our Facebook page, we're posting videos and pictures of this suspected 52-year-old man with this biometric verification device belonging to the Electoral Commission. Now, Dr. Jonathan Asantioshi is a political analyst, senior lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, joining us on the telephone for a quick conversation on this matter. Dr. Asantioshi, see how this matter is now developing quite swiftly as we speak. Now we understand this 52-year-old man is in the police custody in Nsawam, but then again, from where you sit as a political analyst, this 3 months to this election, how does this strike you?
Well, let me say good evening to your listeners. It is good news, probably good news, in the sense that it will probably lead to other things. Now, in the first place, don't forget that as part of the 6 conditions that the NDC or the chair gave to the Peace Council as precondition for the appending of their signature to the Peace Pact, the biometric device issue was in it. And you remember that when the chairman did that particular press conference, he intimated that they will be very much glad if they got the codes of the missing biometric devices. The EC declined that it is a security information, and so they cannot offer that particular information. So now that it has been found somewhere else, I am waiting to find out what the EC will be doing. Now, I think they will equally have to lead that person to whoever gave that particular device to him. And then, based upon that, we should be able to tell whether this particular device could influence, the outcome of the election for or against any of the political parties. That, for me, is something that we all have to be interested in.
I see. And so what, in your view, should be the posturing, especially of the Electoral Commission concerning this development, so as to also endanger that kind of peace, that kind of trust from the NDC who had raised this thing earlier?
Yeah, we need to see that as a nation, as an electorate, as a voter, as a citizen, we need to find out from the EC if they are not in cahoot with any of these people who have pilfered these particular devices. That is all that we need to know. And the EC will have to come clean. Whether these devices that got lost or got stolen will not in any way affect the outcome of the result. If they will not, then nothing stops them from making the codes available to all parties or all stakeholders. If it will, also for the sake of transparency, nothing stops them from making those codes available so that these codes will not in any way generate results anywhere not at any polling station, not at any constituency. That, for me, is the transparency and the trust that you see needs to ensure that they have and they get from the political party, especially the main opposition, that seem to be trailing and betraying this particular lost devices. I think that is the best way to go. Other than that, it is much ado about nothing. And I think that they will have to probe a little further, investigate so that we'll know, as I said earlier on, that if the codes will not affect the result, then nothing stops them from making the codes available. If it will, for the sake of transparency and ensuring that the results are not affected by any unwanted material or results, then make the codes available. Whichever way you look at it, the codes must be made available, irrespective of the security implications. Making it available to all the political parties does not portend any security. It does not portend any security, compromise.
And talk about investigation, and that's why I pick up this conversation to the next level. Dr. Jonathan Asantioshi, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition.
You're welcome.
Now, Dr. Jonathan Asantioshi is a political scientist and a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, senior lecturer, joining us here on Hot Edition. And on that bit about the security, and in fact investigations being launched into this latest development of a 52-year-old man, Samuel Yao, granting in the custody of the Nsawam police for allegedly possessing a biometric verification device suspected to be one of the missing gadgets of the Electoral Commission. The suspect, said to be a resident of Tudu here in Accra, was apprehended earlier today in Nsawam. local residents there. Some members of the opposition NDC, upon hearing of the arrest, rushed to the scene to capture videos of the suspect and also pictures and the device before handing him over to the Ghana Police Service. If you recall, in April this year, the NDC minority in Parliament, the caucus in Parliament, alleged that some 7 BVDs were missing from the Electoral Commission's stores. The Electoral Commission vehemently denied this claim and indicated that some 5 laptops rather that had gone missing or had been stolen. Now, this development also, to many who are watching this space, raises some concerns. And a man who has over 2 decades of experience in intelligence and national security strategy, crime investigations and prevention techniques is Richard Kumado is joining us on the telephone. So, Kumado, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition. Hello, Mr. Kumado. Hello, Mr. Kumado. Can you hear me?
Hello, Alfred. I can hear you now.
Perfect. Now, and with this, but the nature of at least this incident, as we do know now, based on the information that has come through so far, what should be the areas of investigation that should interest the Ghana Police Service in this particular incident?
So it's basic things you're going to do. The Electoral Commission have serial numbers and some particular itemized signatories to all the devices they have bought or under their control. The police will just confirm this particular one to authenticate whether it came from the Electoral Commission one or some other individuals have also imported biometric machines into the country. And once that is done, it gives the police a premises to ensure that the EC devices are tightly secure and their platforms are also secure. And some of those provisions could be made available to the Ghana Police Service so that we take it from there. But until they are able to synchronize the two, then it may raise further suspicions, particularly when the Electoral Commission has not come clean to say this total number of devices have gotten missing, and these are the serial numbers, and these are the features of the missing devices under their control.
What nature should this investigation take so as to be open, transparent, without any questions in the end, especially for the political interests in this matter?
Okay, so since Dan Parry is the Election Security Task Force, it should be handled at the highest level, where at a point in time Dan Parry must address the press or some of the big guys with the police must take these investigations and address the press. That will go a long way to lay the fears of people who are afraid that elections are not going to be transparent. If such things are not addressed in the public eye and they have been swept under the carpet, then it will confirm many of the things the ECOWAS report has released just yesterday, saying that people have less trust in the Electoral Commission, particularly the police, who are seen as the frontliners when it comes to first responders assignments.
Zakumado, appreciate your time. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's bring you some more here on Hot Edition, and final preparations are underway ahead of the 2024 manifesto launch of the main opposition National Democratic Congress, the NDC. The launch will take place at the University of Education, Winneba, in the Central Region. Now, the region has been a swing one in Ghana's election since the return to constitutional rule in 1993. The manifesto launch would feature the flag bearer of the NDC and former President John Mahama as the special guest. Members of the National Executive Committee, members of the Council of Elders, members of Parliament, parliamentary candidates will also be in attendance. Let's listen to the flag bearer, John Mahama, who's been speaking ahead of the launch tomorrow.
Tomorrow we take the first step towards resetting our dear nation, Ghana. We face challenges that have held us back for too long. But now it's time to build the Ghana we all want together. Join me from Winneba in the Central Region as I unveil a vision for a future that will bring justice, jobs, and prosperity to every corner of our beloved nation. Ghana, tomorrow we begin the journey together. Now it's time to build the Ghana we all want together. Join me from Winneba in the Central Region as I unveil a vision for a future that will bring justice, jobs, and prosperity to every corner of our beloved nation. Ghana, tomorrow we begin the journey together.
Rescue this land.
And you heard the former President John Mahama. Will be bringing you more on this ahead of tomorrow. Stay with us now. Dry spells in 8 out of Ghana's 16 regions has led to the destruction of several farms. The regions impacted by the dry spell are Oti, Bono East, Northern, Northeast, Savannah, Upper East and Upper West regions. Now the situation has put the investment of farmers at risk. Let's listen to some of them.
We've been experiencing these dry spells more and more over the past decade, and
it has been terrible. Looking at what is happening this time around is unbelievable. And actually, we've heard this from our elders that 83 it has happened, but we have not experienced it unless this short period of time that we have experienced it. And actually, it's not helping us.
Afibia by this time may try a brew, but if you will insuranty a brun cram into means you hope you. They are bosoming and sunny into means your brun pokra. Send as I say.
I have 2,000 yam mounds which I planted, and I couldn't ply weedicide because of rain. Now weeds has taken over the yam, and the yam has started dying one after the other. So day in, day out, I'm in the house. Because if you go to farm and you look at the plants, in fact, you feel worried.
Some farmers there. The former director of the Institute for Environment and Sanitation Studies at the University of Ghana, Professor Chris Gordon, has also expressed concerns about what's happening up north.
We've been experiencing these dry spells more and more over the past decade, and this is caused by the long-term increase in greenhouse gases and climate change globally. We are just suffering even though we do not cause climate change. Thank you. However, the tendency is that if you have something that is drought tolerant, you usually have a lower yield. So it's a risk you take. You plant a drought tolerant variety and you get less yield, even though your farm inputs will be the same. Or you plant something that is drought sensitive, which will give you a high yield that may die. So the most important technology that I think can help our farmers is greater awareness of the climate risk. That is early warning systems which tell the farmer what they can do. And I'm not underplaying the local traditional knowledge that the farmers have on how to read the weather. The fact is, the climate has changed so much that those old systems of adaptation and resilience are no longer holding for us. And remember, it's not just Ghana. In 2020, about 14% of all rain-fed agriculture was impacted by these changes in climate. When you look at the potential for food insecurity for the country, the fact that we have vulnerable population, it is important that we do put this back on the table. We need to look at infrastructure. That is the irrigation infrastructure. We need to look at the sources of water. We need to look at how we can store our cereals so we cannot lose so much due from post-harvest losses.
And you heard that former director of the Institute for Environment and Sanitation Studies at the University of Ghana, Professor Chris Gordon.
We'll come back to this story shortly when we get through to Edward Karawe and also gauge the mood and the exact reality of the situation on the ground. But away from that, a security expert, Colonel Festus Abuaje, retired, says peace agreements ahead of the major elections in Ghana have not been enough to tackle the issue of violence in the electoral process. Now, to him, Ghana must embrace a comprehensive, multifaceted strategy that addresses the root causes of electoral conflict and violence and strengthens the foundations of its flawed democracy. You'll recall the NDC has refused to sign a peace pact by the National Peace Council ahead of the 2024 elections until certain conditions are met. We'll revisit the demands by the NDC and why retired Colonel Festus Obwaje may largely agree with the NDC on some of the demands they're making. But these are the 6 demands the NDC is making, including requirements for the President, the IGP, the Chief Justice, the National Security Coordinator, and the Attorney General to sign the peace pact. Also, they want government full implementation of the recommendations of the Ayawaso West Wuogon Election Commission of Inquiry, the prosecution of those responsible for the killings of 8 people during the 2020 elections, and the prosecution of individuals involved in the illegal printing of approximately 1 million extra ballot papers during the 2020 elections. Other conditions include President Akrofi publicly declaring on a state platform that he will respect the outcome of the 2024 elections, full disclosure on the missing equipment from the Electoral Commission. Let's get a bit on this matter now. And security expert Colonel Festus Obwaje, retired, is joining us on the telephone. Colonel, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition. Great. And the context that you put this analysis is very important to the extent that there's some historical antecedents and precedents as well that points us to what we should be looking at. In your view, beyond the peace pact, what should be the other relevant areas of concern for us to keep our peace together?
Well, first of all, we need to answer the question as to why we established the peace pact. We established it because when we transitioned from military rule into the so-called Fourth Republic, there was still a significant level of residual political violence. We've seen it manifested in the form of political vigilantism and so on and so forth. So from 1996 up to today, although we have signed 7 peace pacts, before, during, after the pact, the political violence has continued. So that probably informs the position of the NDC that, look, why go sign a piece of paper when stakeholders are not faithful to that paper? So the whole idea is that one of the key stakeholders, which is the National Peace Council, is only playing a mediating role to get the other stakeholders, the EC, the political parties, the citizenry, and so on and so forth, to play by the rules. But the National Peace Council hasn't got the instruments to resolve the issues of political violence. It cannot investigate, it cannot prosecute, it cannot sanction. The other elements that have been mentioned, which are the other institutions, the judiciary, the legislature, the executive, for instance, hold the instruments for now investigating and using the laws or existing laws to punish. So my whole argument is that, and I don't want to say that I'm siding with the NDC, my whole argument is that we need to be very, very objective that merely signing a piece of paper is not delivering. And it's not delivering because rather than violence escalating, in 2020, for the first time in the history of Ghana, we lost 8 lives. So the time has come for us to rethink the role and the place of this pact. You know, if we are not going to be able to enforce the rules and to bring perpetrators to account, then there is no need. But whether we sign the paper or we don't sign, the violence is going to continue. But let me tell you my own conspiracy theory. That in general, when you have some of these crimes committed in full public view, and for 8 years, the state says that it doesn't know and it cannot find those individuals. My theory is that perchance the state itself is involved. And let me explain. If you take the police, for instance, or let's take the security institutions, you are assigned to a place of duty. So you take the police, the chief of operations, at whatever level, knows which police officers have been assigned to ballot station A or registration center B. The names are there. So when you are doing investigations, your starting point is to now look closely at the people who were assigned to those places. The same applies to the army. You don't get up as a soldier and join a vehicle and go to Kumasi that you are going to do election security management. It doesn't work like that. So where is the state institutions who assign those persons in uniform? Military uniform, police uniform. So the argument is that if the state, is not playing ball, the state is not being accountable, the state is not being truthful, then the state itself is behind those who perpetrated those crimes. And I think we know empirically that the evidence is there. So that's my argument. We need now to sit down and find ways and means of helping the National Peace Council to maintain or to negotiate, to mediate the tensions in our political spaces. There is something that I've seen, and let me say that we don't know whether it is true or not. But the missing DVDs, one of them is on social media.
Yes, indeed. In fact, we've been talking about it since we started the show. Yes. He's been arrested, 52-year-old, arrested in a swamp.
Executive bodies of this state, the YOCO, the CID, the DNI, or NIDs, the National Security, and so on. Indeed, I have argued that the EC needs to go back to be taught how to manage such an institution and manage its assets. When you have sensitive devices like that and you lose one, your first port of call is the police. You need to go and report. If the army loses a weapon or the police lose a weapon, there are very rigorous steps to try and find out where that weapon is. The easy loss is didn't report. Now this device is in the hands of a young man, claiming, assuming that it is true, that was given to him by an NDC official, an NPP official. So the EC's credibility is part of, the concern about the state of our elections. That if EC is not, being accountable to anybody because the Constitution says it's independent, which is not what it means, then to start with, we're going to have issues. So that's where we are. I don't want to use the NDC, but my argument is that there is no need to sign any peace pact. There is absolutely no need. What is necessary is for the institutions of the state, i.e. the EC, to start with, the police, second, the army, which is not playing its proper democratic role, the legislature, the judiciary, the executive, the political parties must do the right thing. We don't need any National Peace Council to bring a piece of paper and sign it.
Well, if you say that the army is not playing its proper role, I don't know exactly what do you mean in our democracy for that matter. What should they be doing that they are not doing?
Well, you've seen that press release from the army responding to the IDEC executive director or chief executive officers claim that the army has said it's going to intervene. What is the army response? The army's response or the armed forces response is that, we only come in to support the police when the police request support. That is not the story. That is not the principle. The principle is that in a democracy, first of all, there must be a public gazette notice. When you talk to the lawyers, let them explain what a public gazette notice is. It's a legal instrument. which says that ordinarily the armed forces are not supposed to operate within the borders of Ghana in a law enforcement role. But given XYZ circumstances, I am authorizing, mandating the army, that is the government. And the clearest example is 15 June in Kenya. The government of Kenya issued a public gazette notice. Even that, the Supreme Court of Kenya cancelled that gazette notice.
That's right.
I.e. that the military is not needed in that public space to go and assist the police.
Yes.
It is only when this has been done, and then the armed forces can go in. The armed forces should not get up, as we are doing, so-called election scrutiny management, and they go and sit close to the table. They position themselves and be inspecting ID cards. They go house to house in certain parts of the country, certifying who is a Ghanaian, who is not a Ghanaian. I mean, the experts have told us, the Codeos and co, that this amounts to voter suppression and voter intimidation.
Right.
And our good friend Hobson Adoy has come out clearly to tell us that those are the tactics that is used or was used by the NPP government to try and reduce the votes in the strongholds of the NPP's, opponent.
Right.
So these are the issues that we have to address.
Indeed.
It is not going to be solved by that piece of paper because, as I said in the paper, even as we are talking about this piece of paper, the stakeholders, some of them, are seriously planning how to rig the election.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
Yes, I do.
And that's not how you run a democracy. So let's deal with the real issues, and don't let us hide behind the facade or the charade of a peace pact, and think that once we've signed a peace pact, then everything is fine.
Indeed. Can I appreciate your time on this matter? Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Colonel Professor Sabaji retired is a security analyst.
Let's bring you some updates on the upcoming manifesto launch of the NDC happening in Winneba in the Central Region. My colleague Mawina Egbeta is currently there for us. He joins us live on the line. Mawina, what can you report from the ground?
Right, Beatrice. And so if you come here at the Jofas Anamwa Conference Center of the University of Education, Winneba, the atmosphere is building up towards that big manifesto launch by the opposition National Democratic Congress tomorrow. All throughout, if you're headed towards Cape Coast, when you get to the Winneba roundabout, the entire roundabout has been adorned with the colors red, white, black, and green of the opposition NDC, right from the Winneba roundabout headed into the University of Education Winneba with flags, paraphernalia, you call it what, you name it what, all really scattered, and individuals as well on motorbikes, and what appears to be an activation of some sort currently ongoing within the Winneba Township at this particular point in time, all geared towards tomorrow's big day, tomorrow's big event, where the opposition NDC says it's launching its manifesto and seeking to let Ghanaians in on what their plans are should they win the 2024 elections, what they say will be the plan or the roadmap towards resetting the country, which has been John Mahama's thematic agenda, outside of the fact that he's made the point that he wants to build Ghana, the Ghana that Ghanaians want. He says that there's been a lot of deterioration currently by this administration, hence the need for him to reset the country. This manifesto is expected to outline the details and plans for that, and the University of Education Winneba is living up to that expectation with supporters of the party alike in their numbers thronging the streets in party colors, really. I've seen students as well jamming to the loud blasting music of the Mahama campaign team and the like. And so if you come here, it's looking already and set towards tomorrow's big event, which is expected to start somewhere around 12 noon.
Any official yet I mean, you spoken about supporters jamming to music and all of that, but any official there to really ensure that things are just super ready ahead of the day?
Absolutely. The chairman of this manifesto launch committee, Dr. Peter Bomo Tokuno, is here present. We've had engagement with him as regards protocol and how things will play out a lot later tomorrow. His able team as well, all members of that team who are helping. I wouldn't say all because I'm yet to cite all, but I've seen members of the National Communications Bureau of the NDC as well, all present here. And so those are so far the individuals that I've seen in the central region as well, their communication direct. We've seen reps from there as well. I'm yet to see the full complement of the NDC touchdown in their numbers, but with regards individuals supposed to be here to ensure that everything goes according to plan, they are here and ensuring that happens.
Thank you very much, Mawina Egbeta there. He's our reporter giving us update from that Winneba program, the manifesto launch of the NDC tomorrow. And Menua Fall is here with the latest in business. Just stay with us.
Hello, good evening. It's time now for the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, Ghana's inflation projected to decline to 15%. From 15 to 18% by end of 15% from 18% by end of 2024. We'll bring you details of Deloitte's latest West Africa economic outlook. My name is Menu Afo. Do stay tuned. Now straight to our very first story. Ghana's inflation rate is projected to decline to between 15 and 18% by close of 2024, according to Deloitte's latest West Africa economic outlook. That its inflationary trend is expected to continue into 2025, eventually dropping below 10% by 2026 if current conditions hold steady. The following 3 Business News Desk report has more.
The report by Deloitte highlighted that while Ghana's inflation is on a downward trajectory, risks remain that could slow progress. According to the firm, the steady deceleration since August 2023 has been driven by tight monetary policies, fiscal consolidation efforts, and stable transportation costs. Ghana's annual inflation rate fell sharply from a high of 54.1% in December 2022 to a 27-month low of 20.9% in July 2024. The Bank of Ghana has set an inflation target of 15% with a margin of 2% by the end of 2024. While this target is seen as attainable, Deloitte cautioned that potential risks such as election-related spending and currency volatility could cause inflationary pressures to resurface. The upcoming elections are expected to lead to increased government spending, potentially boosting money supply and fueling demand pull inflation. While Ghana's inflation is showing signs of improvement, the report noted that other West African nations, such as Nigeria, continue to face persistent inflation challenges. Deloitte emphasized that consumer prices remain significant macroeconomic concern for the region as a whole.
And that was the 3 Business News Desk reporting. More stories as the global push for renewable energy intensifies. The Natural Resource Governance Institute has highlighted the importance of safeguarding the economic stability of African countries that rely heavily on carbon fuels. Africa Director of the Institute, Nafi Chinuri, emphasized the need for a balanced approach that protects the environment without disadvantaging the continent. She made these remarks during the opening session of the 2024 Anglophone Africa Extractive Industries Knowledge Hub Summer School.
It has implications because many of our countries, especially in Africa, depend on fossil fuel for revenue. Nigeria, for example, is between 70 to 80%. It's called a dollar economy, right, to power its economy. What will happen to the over 100 million people in Nigeria if there is a shift away from fossil fuel, just like that, without putting in place structures that can support the economy, that can diversify away from fossil fuel, so that Nigeria, for example, can feed its population. Africa also holds about 30% of the world transition minerals. That's lithium, cobalt, and others. And these are critical minerals needed to power the transition.
The Natural Resource Governance Institute Africa Director Nafi Chinuri is there. Meanwhile, at the same event, Charles Ofori, policy lead on climate and energy transition at the Africa Center for Energy Policy, stressed the importance of value addition in Africa's energy transition. He argued that this approach would ensure the continent's economic empowerment during the shift to renewable energy.
We have China that is actually fully has built capacity across the entire solar and PV value chain, from raw material extraction to the assembly of solar modules, developing across the value chain. And where does Africa start? We are mostly at the lower end of the value chain, where we import our technologies, where we are just at the utilization end, and some of these have to change. We need to answer the questions about how we build capacity to integrate along the value chain. That is one. We need to also understand how we can really do the innovations to create our own solutions as far as the transition is concerned, and how we can integrate both skilled and unskilled labor into the technologies that are being built. That is the kind of inclusion that we need. The energy transition has become an economic issue. The energy transition has become an issue where we have to deal with livelihoods. If you just focus on it as a way where we just reduce CO2 emissions, we may miss the mark. But if you begin to look at it within the lenses of poverty reduction, of livelihoods improvement, that is where you can really begin to build your capacities. People are...
Charles Ofori is policy lead on climate and energy transition at the Africa Center for Energy Policy. Before we go, Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, Samson Asaki Awingobit, has disputed claims by some trade associations that they were not consulted on the Ghana Shippers Authority Act 2024. Despite concerns raised by groups like GUTA, which have petitioned President Akufo-Addo to withhold his assent due to certain issues, Awingobit maintains that the benefits of the act far outweigh the challenges. In an interview with 3 Business, he urged the president to sign the bill into law while continuing engagements to address any outstanding concerns.
My colleagues were engaged. GIFT, ICHA, Cuba, GUTA, TAC, so many AGI, Chamber of Commerce were engaged prior to the bill sent to Parliament. And when it went to Parliament and Parliament approved it, they have engaged again, okay? I know very well they've engaged AGI, Chamber of Commerce, GUTA on a day, and they also engaged GIFT, Cuba, ICHA, TAC, that's Trade Advocacy Group, and Import and Export Association, and the following day. And so we raised so many issues. Yes, we all agree there were some issues, discrepancies in the law, and we raised. And the management, what baffled me is that the management were ready to listen to us, and even said they are going to conform an ad hoc committee. And that ad hoc committee will now come out with the LI. They will draft the LI proposal, because when they get a parent act, they need an LI to be able to implement. But, Mr. President, if someone says those scientists don't assign the signature to this law, I think I beg to differ. This Parent Act must be signed, and we can continue doing the engagement.
Well, you heard the voice of Executive Secretary of the Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana, Samson Asaki Awingobet there. Well, that's it for the business segment on Hot Edition. For more stories, can you check out our website on www.3news.com. My name is Minu Afo. Do stay tuned for sports news with Bill.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Billy Shen. Starting off from the local front, Mediama secured their first Ghana Premier League title in the 2022-23 season, qualifying eventually to the CAF Champions League group stages. But combining the group stages with the Ghana Premier League in the 2023-24 season, they struggled and in the end finished 8th. However, central midfielder for the club, God knows Japasu, has expressed that the Takwa Bay sides would be determined enough to finish in the top 4 probably, and hopefully fight for the league trophy and get back into CAF competitions.
It has been good. We are really responding to the rhythm of the coach, and we are pushing very hard. Last season, on the first round, we were okay, but getting to the latter part, we started losing a match, like 3 matches at the end of the season. That was when I would say we came down a bit. So we are working towards that side, so that this season will be a good season for us.
This season will be a good season, according to Japasu, who is a central midfielder for Mediama SC. But there are 2 clubs from Ghana who are competing in CAF competitions. Those 2 teams are in Swatreman and also Samatex. Samatex are currently preparing for their game against Victoria United, the second leg of the preliminary round of qualification. They currently lead on aggregate by 1-0, whilst in Swatreman will be playing against Elect Sport in Cameroon. They lead by 3-0 in the CAF Confederation Cup qualifiers. And so these 2 teams will be playing. For Samatex, they will be playing on Sunday at 3 p.m, whilst in Swatreman will be playing on Saturday at 2 p.m. We'll provide you further updates on our social media platforms at 3 Sports GH. Moving forward to European football, Ilkay Gundogan, in a shocking turn of events, has completed a free transfer back to Manchester City shortly after leaving Barcelona, having played for the Spanish side for just 1 season. The German midfielder first joined the Citizens in 2016 and had a successful stint under Pep Guardiola, winning 14 trophies, including 5 Premier League titles and a Champions League title in the 2022-23 season. In Manchester, a 33-year-old recorded 304 appearances, including 234 starts, and found the net 60 times. A return to a place he calls home is an exciting prospect for Gundogan.
I'm incredibly happy. Happy to see the teammates, the staff, people that I had 7 years, an amazing time with, a very successful time with, many ups, few downs, but in general an incredible experience. And when you leave this place, like I did last year, you spend a year away. You then start to appreciate the place even more. You realize what you had, you realize how amazing the time was, you realize how big the club is, the best club in the world. I think in terms of football, getting back onto that level and coming back now a year later is an incredible.
That was Ilkay Gundogan, a midfielder who has rejoined Manchester City. But still, there's football going on. Here are some fixtures in Europe for the weekend. Manchester United will be playing early kickoff around 11 a.m. against Ipswich. Tottenham will face Everton. Aston Villa will face Arsenal. Wolves will face Chelsea on Sunday. Liverpool will also face Brentford on Sunday. In La Liga, Barcelona will be facing Athletic Bilbao. Real Madrid will face Valladolid. And Atletico Madrid will be facing Girona. But some news from Real Madrid. Real Madrid midfielder Jude Bellingham has sustained a calf injury in training just over 2 weeks before England begin their Nations League campaign. Reports in Spain suggest he will be unavailable until late September, which will rule him out of Lee Carsley's opening 2 fixtures as England interim manager. And in a statement, Real Madrid said Bellingham had medical tests on Friday on a problem with his right calf and that his progress will be monitored. In the Bundesliga, which would begin today, we have Mönchengladbach versus Leverkusen, who are the current champions of the competition. On Saturday, we have Leipzig versus Bochum, Dortmund versus Frankfurt, and on Sunday we have Wolfsburg versus Bayern Munich, who are hoping to get back to winning ways and win the title once again. That brings an end to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Bill Ishen, and of course Beatrice and the rest of the team are available with more.
Are you ready? The countdown to the most explosive Afro experience of the year has begun. It's the 3FM Afro Connect 2024, happening live on Saturday, 21st September at the monumental Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park. It promises to be a day filled with a display of Africa's dynamic cultures, pulsating beats, electrifying performances, and pure Afro vibes. Come and experience the infectious energy of Africa's great people in the most iconic food battle of the continent, the Jollof Wars. Which African country takes home the crown for the best jollof? You don't want to miss this epic celebration of Africa. The 3FM Afro Connect, 21st September at the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park, Accra. Feel the pulse. Feel the vibe of Africa. Are you a vendor or international exhibitor? This is your moment. Come and showcase your unique products to thousands of culture lovers from around the world. Call 0532 200 927 or 0531 100 927 right now. 3FM Afro Connect 2024, where Africa meets the rest of the world. Powered by 3FM, the Media General Group. Follow us at 3FM 927 for more. 3FM 92.7, your urban lifestyle radio.
When it comes to the world of sports, what does complete mean to you?
When my team scores at the end of a 30-plus passing sequence, you know, like Pep Guardiola style.
When someone beats the buzzer from a shot from the logo, like Steph Curry.
Dominating opponents and punching my way to a knockout, like Africa's greatest boxer, Azuma Nelson.
Running so fast that I can afford to celebrate midway through a 100-meter race and smash the world record like Usain Bolt.
Hold up. What makes all of these sports complete is the screen. This is where you get access to extensive analysis, insights, and highlights.
So join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. live on 3FM 92.7 as we serve you the most satisfying buffet in the world of sports. The 3 Sports team will come together to review, preview, and analyze the latest in sports on Sports Ultras. Up early every weekday because of you, to keep you on top of your game. Yeah!
You are at the center of our universe. That's why we make it a duty to serve you only the freshest, hottest news and entertainment. When you want it, where you want it.
Good morning, Ghana, Africa, and the rest of the wonderful world. Welcome to Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Start your day well informed. Start with us on Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Catch the all-new Sunrise Morning Show on 3FM 92.7 with me, Johnny Hughes, Helen Obiambofo. Weekdays from 5:55 a.m. to 10 a.m. only on 3FM 92.7.
3FM, your urban lifestyle radio.
When it comes to the world of sports, what does complete mean to you?
When my team scores at the end of a 30-plus passing sequence, like Pep Guardiola style.
When someone beats the buzzer from a shot from the logo like Steph Curry.
Dominating opponent and punching my way to a knockout like Africa's greatest boxer, Azuma Nelson.
Running so fast that I can afford to celebrate midway through a 100-meter race and smash the world record like Usain Bolt.
Hold up. What makes all of these sports complete is the screen. This is where you get access to extensive analysis, insights, and highlights.
So join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. live on 3FM 92.7 as we serve you the most satisfying buffet in the world of sports. The 3 Sports team will come together to review, preview, and analyze the latest in sports on Sports Ultras.
And we're still here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Thank you very much, Billy Shan, for bringing us the latest in sports. And we're telling you earlier about the dry spells in the northern parts of the country and the implication for farmers. We're joined by Ibrahim Wangara. He is our correspondent in the Upper West region. He joins us on the phone now. Wangara, can you tell us more about the impact of the dry spell on farmers there?
Yes, the dry spell, the impact on farmers here is so devastating. Because most of these farmers, particularly those farming maize, sorghum, rice, are in the commercial farm side are the most hardest hit because most of these farmers, after planting and applying fertilizer onto their crops with the expectation of the rains to come or to set in so that their crops could germinate for them to harvest more than they have harvested earlier or years back, were not successfully because of the dry spell. So as a result, it appears to them that they have invested hugely on their farmland, but the expectation or the outcome when it comes to this farm season is something that they can get. Most of them have been telling us that because of the incident or this dry spell incident in the northern part of their country, they are afraid to even venture or throw more resources into their farmland as they are not willing to participate in it because they think that nothing good will come out of it. One thing they are also complaining or lamenting has to do with food insecurity that is most likely to hit their country because considering Ghana as a country, almost all the places that farming activities are taking place, that is to say cereal, those that are into cereal farming, are the places that are most at times or mostly affected by dry spell. So recently too, as a country and a nation, the government has been encouraging people, particularly the youth, to go into farming activities. Most of them recently also joined the cause. But it will be interesting for you to know that they are also regretting and they're also giving indications that going forward, farming will not be the place for them.
We'll have to end it here. Thank you very much, Ibrahim Wangara. Let's speak to Edward Kariwa, General Secretary, General Agricultural Workers Union, GAO. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good evening. let me make a correction here. I'm the former General Secretary.
Former General Secretary. Thank you very much, Mr. Kariwe. Let me first get from you the kind of information you've gathered as regards the impact of this dry spell now.
Well, the farmers on the ground are just counting their losses, and they are devastated by the developments. And they have been affected in multiple ways. One has to do with the drought, and then the other one has to do with the Barry Dam that is coming on. Even though it is not all the farmers that are equally affected by these two developments, but the reality is that they have lost their sources of livelihood, which is the farms, and therefore they don't know what the future holds for them. But what is clear about the future is that there's going to be absolute hunger for them.
There's going to be absolute hunger for them. Is there anything that could be done to help them at this stage?
Well, we have seen some communication from the Minister of Agriculture that they are dispatching some inputs to those various places like the district assemblies, the regions, and so on. But if you look at the distribution or how they intend the distribution to be done, is that they are rather making allocation to the MPs and then MMDCs and then directors of the districts for agriculture. They are going to use their own criteria at their own discretion to determine who should benefit from the input. Now you look at it that the letter was signed on the 9th of July. Today, we are 23rd of July. That the inputs are on their way. We are already far advanced in this farming season. You are sending fertilizer to them. And you are even, granted that the fertilizer gets to the farmers. Even if they apply the fertilizer today and the other inputs, they will not get the yield that they are supposed to get because the inputs have come too late. Now, to make things worse, instead of getting the technical people to make the distribution of the fertilizer and you hold them accountable, you are giving it to politicians. The MPs are politicians, and you are also telling them that they should distribute the inputs based on their own discretion. You are sending some of the inputs to the MMDCs, and that they should do same. Who are they going to give to? Which farmers are they going to select to give? You are telling them that they should give to political patronage. That's all that you are saying. So that they are sending inputs at this time, which is one, very late in the farming season, and secondly, you are putting it in the hands of the politicians to make their own distribution. That is not a solution at all. It's going to be another wasteful venture.
So it means that the farmers are left with that hope. That's essentially what you're saying?
Well, if the MP is going to make distribution, and we know our MPs, are they not politically inclined? Depending on which particular constituency, they'll give to their favorite. If you talk at the MMDCs, are they not politically inclined?
So how do we ensure that does not happen? I mean, I know you're a former executive of the General Agricultural Workers Union, but what can groups like yourself do to ensure the right thing is done?
Well, we are helpless as at this stage because power is vested, and authority is vested in the government. And the government is using that to direct what should be done with resources that belong to all of us. And they have given the direction. What we can only do is to go to court and stop the government from doing that.
Is that what you intend to do?
No, we cannot succeed in that because they've been vested with authority and power to do that. But unfortunately, if you look at the distribution system they want to use, it's politically inclined.
So what I'm asking is, you just said the only option is to go to court, and I'm asking whether you intend to do that.
No, I don't think so, because if you go to court, there are legal processes, and it will take a long time. By the time you even finish with the court issues, the season is over.
The season is over, but if you think that that is the right way to go, it would prevent a future occurrence. You don't think so?
Well, I think that what they are doing today is not something based on the past. So even if in future they are going to do another thing, they will do it. But what I'm only trying to say is that there's no solution now. Government is not ready for a solution. And what they are doing now is just to send inputs at the wrong time. This input should have gone early enough. Even the southern sector, apart from the minor season that is coming, the major season is over.
So, Mr. Karawa,
because they are harvesting.
Forgive me, I just want to get an understanding of whether or not there's any slim chance at all of helping the farmers, or even if it has to be just meeting them halfway.
To help the farmers is to get them not inputs at this time, but to try and support them with foodstuffs. Because if you give them inputs today, it will not work well. Because we are faced with a Bagre Dam, apart from the drought. And then if you look at the rain pattern in the north now, we have reached the heavy rain season. Between now and September, it's going to be the heavy rains. We should pray that we don't get heavy rains, which will cause further flooding. So from now until the harvest, we can't deal with the situation. What will happen is that we should be able to support the farmers in terms of food and so on. Because the reality is that there will be food shortage at the end of the season. And how we are going to deal with that is what we should be doing now.
Thank you very much, Edward Karawa, former General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union. Thank you for speaking to us. And that'll be it for Hot Edition here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Beatrice. Thank you very much for joining us today. I did this with Alfred Ocansey. Log on to 3news.com for more news. Have a good evening and to enjoy the rest of our programs.